All right, let's go over the market and some of my trades here. So the SPY, um, interesting day. The only thing I can say is that the levels are still holding true in my mind. Before the Fed talk yesterday, everything sort of made sense in terms of this 466 was support. It gaps down, and you have this pretty big doji, which lines up really well with the top of this range. And then yesterday where it changed a bit. Still makes sense though. You have the pullback all the way down here to support, and then we had the Fed talk, and that's where everything really ripped. And it did compress, and it broke into 466 really cleanly. I mean, if you look at yesterday's move right there, I mean, this is the compression. I mean, it started early, right when he started talking, or when the notes came out, but then it then had to build up all that pressure to then break back into the range here. So that tells me that this level was indeed a good level after seeing it live. And so then it goes right up to the top, to the, basically all-time high. I guess all-time high is here, but this is the better level. The 471, 470 area. I was seeing 471, but 470 ended up being a better level. And so I guess we were expecting some kind of choppy day, range day, or a continuation, right? So like we gap up a little bit. If we would have pulled back to 470 or 471, we could have potentially gone long, right? And that would have continued the, sort of the positive sentiment that we clearly saw yesterday. But, I don't know. I don't know why it didn't keep going. I don't know why it came back in. I mean, it did come. Yesterday's move started way down here, so we could say, well, it is extended, and so that's probably why we thought there could have been a choppy day. But we just have to play what the price action is giving us, and if we have good levels still, and price is moving, and we have good RVOL, I mean, we can play them up, down, ranges, etc., without sort of that bias of, hey, it should be holding here and this needs to be long because of yesterday's talk and because, Powell's talk was positive or whatever. It looked positive, so it has to be long. Like, I think we're just sort of thinking we're trying to sort of know how the price should move based on his talks. But this is just proving to us that we never know if it's sell the news or buy the news. All we know is technical analysis, good levels, good volume, and then we manage our risk around those levels. And we can do that even in this type of environment. I mean, I got a decent short on SPY. It wasn't like anything crazy, but it still made sense to me. And maybe it was because I wasn't as biased towards the long, and maybe I was able to flip my position short a bit more. But that's, I think, anyways, so yeah, so it did sell off, and it sold off all the way down to the bottom of this range, went down even further, but then came back up and closed above, which makes sense to me too. I have no idea what it's going to be tomorrow. I mean, I would think it's going to be somewhere in the middle of this range, right? Because you kind of have the big move yesterday and then the big sell off today, and sort of value is probably somewhere in the middle here. If you zoom out, you can probably figure it out. Value is right around 466. So really, it's almost split. You combine both days. I mean, maybe it's a little higher. Yeah, so it's either 466 or 470. So it's really it's either the top or the bottom, I guess. I don't know. It's not perfect. And then if we go to the Qs, to me, the Qs again, the 400 level is just so clean to me. This 400 level was used a bunch of times, and then even after yesterday's move in the pre-market, we got a continuation, right? It kept going higher, but look, it got above 400 and then did basically a head and shoulders and then stayed under 400. It wasn't perfect, but I guess I just told myself if it's under 400, then it's more of a short, or at least it's not a long yet. I wanted to see price get above 400 to be a long, sort of like we wanted to see SPY above that 470 or 471 to be a long as well. It just didn't last that long for the SPY. And then for the Q had already passed 400. So I guess sort of seeing Q already get above 400 and then get under it made me more bearish for the Qs. And then when I looked at the SPY, I sort of thought, well, Q needs to hit some support here at the same time that the SPY needs to hold 470. I guess I was just trying to try to make those connections. But anyways, you can see Q sold off way more than the SPY. I mean, it went all the way down to the starting point of the big move up yesterday. And it's got some decent ranges. I mean, this was a range here generally, and then 400 is the top, 393 is sort of the bottom, and then you have kind of a gap in here, and then this doji helps connect this range here, right there. So you have decent levels to work with here going forward. I think we just all have no idea what's going to happen. Are we going to get the Santa Claus rally? Or are we going to get a bigger sell-off? Was this the start of giving us that bigger sell-off? We're not sure. And then IWM. IWM, again, really good ranges. I mean, ever since it broke down into the back into the range, IWM has just been super clean, at least on the higher time frame. Probably the 1 minute can be trickier, but let me get out the marker here. So, 2 days here, and then it gapped down right here. I mean, these are just really good levels. And then this is an amazing level, this 213. And then up here is a really good level, 220, whole dollar. And so you just have these massive, really good levels. We could all be swinging these, kind of coming up with ideas on how to trade these, not even really knowing where it's going to go, just respecting the levels and trading around the levels. Or if price breaks down and we get confirmation, then we short it. Like right now, shorting a put or buying a put, basically selling IWM or being bearish on IWM, that's probably going to cost a lot. But we don't know just yet if it's going to keep going. I mean, it looks to be the weakest of all the markets, but we could wait and see another day or two. If it eventually gets down lower and gets in here earlier in the day or whatever, maybe we get like a pullback, it compresses, and then we get down. Then we buy a put, and then we'll probably have to pay more, but we'll have a better confirmation, and then we could probably make some money on that. Or we just play the bounce, right? Like we could have maybe bought some calls here just for up here, or just swung it and just tried to make that, or even make half of the bounce, like just bouncing it from here to here. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff we can do on this higher time frame here. Dude, this is funny. I literally drew a person here. He's taking a dump. That's a poop. That's a big dump he just took. And he's dancing. He's dancing and he's pooping and his head's falling off. Okay, so here's my trade on SPY. It wasn't anything special. We were watching it around 471, 470. I thought 471 was the better level because you had pre-market low. You had all the dailies right there. I sort of saw that as like a clump zone of the support. But Tyler pointed out 470, which ended up being the level, I feel like. I mean, this was a zone, but I think 470 was like the last. It was the last support level of the zone. It was the edge. You can see here how it clearly showed. And once we sort of figured that out here, you could just easily see a compression, and we still had half an ATR to go. Plus, it was only noon, so I went short. I got out quickly, just wanted it to work right away, and then it ended up working right away here for me. Partialed quite a bit in here, and then just held some for a later move. Yeah, I'm not really sure why I partialed quite a bit here. I did see this 468 as some kind of support. I think I was sort of tricked too. Yeah, right here. So we had the big breakout yesterday, and we had the pullback. So I was sort of seeing this pullback, this 468 as some support. So when I saw it consolidating, I started to get a little worried there that maybe that was going to hold, and it kind of did. It flushed through it, but then it held for another couple hours. So this took a while to come down here. It was just hard to believe that we were going to get this move, and then it was just going to give it all back. But my last partial was going to be at this 468 or 465.50 here, which was the low. Yeah, somewhere around here, the low of this range. That was going to be my final partial. And then I did try to trade into the close a few times and gave some back in here. That was stupid and a little bit P&L based. But overall, I got a good trade out of that. And I don't know, we just gotta, I think if we weren't looking at the higher time frame and trying to figure that out, I think we would all say that this was a pretty easy compression. We still had more than half an ATR. We still had half the day left. We had high RVOL. I think it was increasing. Maybe it was. I can't remember now. I think we all would have agreed that was going to be a break. And so had we not been so long biased, probably one of you guys would have just gone for a short up here. Or maybe not, because we were kind of sitting above all-time high. So I don't know. Or, maybe you would have done the back to value. This sort of looks like a back to value play, even though this is at all-time high. So I don't think we normally do that back to value at an all-time high like this, especially after it's sort of been up here for a while. Here was my Uber trade. Nothing special. I'm really glad that I did not get too emotional. I stayed disciplined with it. I really felt like I got it, but you can see here last few days, some clear wicks here, some selling. People are selling here at this 38.50. Price is opening up near 38.50. I also felt like even along with the last 2 days, this was also a bit of a range resistance in here too. This day, this day, this day. So I felt like a lot of things aligned there. And then at the open, you could see it failed this 38.50. Made a bit of a channel, broke up. I actually had my limit order up here to be filled. So I liked it in here, and I was going to short it right here, but I'm like, you know what? This is the level that I like, so I'm going to put my order up here. And of course, I got a little bit too excited, moved it down and let it fill me. And then it did come back against me and then back down. So I was really happy about coming back down, but I'm really going to try to work on these limit orders and really try not to chase. If it doesn't come up and fill me, then it is what it is. I just didn't know how much room to give it. I think it kind of had some spread, so I wasn't sure. Well, I like this 38.50, but there's also 2 daily levels here, so it might only come up to this daily level and then fail, or this daily level. So I wasn't really sure where to put the order. So I think just putting the order somewhere in this area was good enough. And I had a wider stop because I wasn't sure when it was going to turn around. And then I told myself, okay, once it gets under this whole $1.38. They made this higher low. Once it gets under this higher low, now it's a short. So I shorted here, didn't partial here, probably made a mistake by doing that, but I really thought it was going to come down to this 37 area. Let's see, why did I think that? Oh yeah, so 2 days ago, had a big move up and made a good consolidation, a good range here. And then yesterday, it stayed underneath it, but respected it decently for a while. So I felt like, hey, it's going to break. If it breaks in through 37.50, it's going to come down to the bottom, and I'm going to get all out, or most of it all out here. And it looks like it did finally. But that's what these back to value plays are. They're so They're just not in Discovery. They're just so rangy and wicky and engulfing, and you're just in the gray area, and you just have to hold. You just have to hold for that ugly move, that just kind of dying volume move down there. And so that's just kind of, I struggle with that. But I really liked my entry and I liked my ad. Those two worked great, and I would have stayed in it, but I got a bit impatient right here. And I was about to get out. I just told myself, you know what? If this thing gets above VWAP, I actually think this is a change in character. And I think around this time, maybe we were getting a little bit more bullish on SPY. So I just said, you know what? If it gets too much higher than here, I'm going to get out. So I'm going to add instead and just make it even more worth it and tighten up my risk. And I did that. And of course, it went up, stopped me to the penny. That was the highest it got from there. And then it kept going. It was ugly and took a while, like I said. And I don't know what I probably would have partialed pretty heavy here, or would have waited for it to break, and that would have been great. And then I would have held for this down here. But as soon as it got back above, so this would have been like a failed breakdown. As soon as it would have got back above, I would have gotten out heavy there, which I'm totally fine with. So either partialed here, the low of day, or held and waited, maybe added here, or added on the pullback here. I would have thought this was the move, so I would have been getting ready for down here. Maybe I would have partialed some at 37.50, I don't know, but say I didn't, and then it started coming back. Once it got back above here, I would have partialed pretty heavy and told myself, hey, that might have been the end of the move, but maybe kept some on just for the potential. And then once it came up, came back under it again, I would have just been telling myself, you know what, this is doing what I want, but it's just super ugly and taking a long time. And so I probably would have added in more here or in here on the retest, like I said, for this 37 area, and then partial there. So I had the right idea. I mean, 2 ads is one thing, especially when they're this far apart, but a third ad, I mean, I'm really getting overconfident, and I'm really risking too much for a play that is really kind of rangy and tricky. And it's these type of trades, you really just want to get in at the top area of the range and let it get away from you and just give it time, you know. I guess if we look on the 5-minute, maybe things will look a little bit cleaner. I had the big wick on the 5-minute, good entry there. Got in on that new low. That was a good second entry, I think. I do think I should have partialed some here. So that was a mistake there. That's totally something I should do. You got to pay yourself, you know, and that's a pretty big move all the way down to low of day. Especially if I was thinking that it was going to break here or break soon. Well, it just moved three big red candles in a row. So of course we're going to get some type of pullback. So I should have partialed there. Then if I would have added in here or could have added in on the new 5-minute low right here. So it made another neckline right here. I think the 5-minute's a little bit cleaner, but just look at all these engulfings and these wicks. It's just not very pretty. And then it gives you that fake breakdown back up and then back down and then back up. So it's just like these levels are just not being respected that well either. So I think the best level was that 38.50 right here. All right, so NIO was a really good trade for me. So we're all bearish on NIO, right? We think that it's done going up for now. It's with BABA and the other Chinese stocks really getting weak, and you know, even Tesla and some of those electric companies are now taking profits, etc. So we're very bearish on it. The daily is a little bit choppy and tricky. I mean, you have some decent ranges here that have been created, but we got away from those, started gapping down. So we do have a decent little inside day today. So I think it was playing the inside day, and then combine that with the 1-minute price action. So you see here it made a range, then it breaks down at the $31. So it breaks down to 31. It's below all of these levels. See how all the levels are up here? There's like almost no levels down here. And price hasn't gone very far yet. So that to me is a breakdown potential. So I think that was an entry for the breakdown, and then it retested really nicely. So here actually on the 1 minute, I called it out here as this would have been a really good. This is the breakdown here, right? We get some increasing volume, retests anywhere in here. You can get short. Then you get the continuation. It immediately breaks a new low of day. There's your extra confirmation. Boom, this is working. You still have ATR on your side that tells you this thing has a bit further to go. You're good to go. SPY was weak. Everything was weak. Good bids down below. There was a really, let me think. There was some, 30. So 30 ended up being the level. No, 30. $30 ended up being the level. 30 was important as well, but 30 as well. So 30 and 30. There was a lot of L2 action. A lot of highlighted orders kept coming in and battling and just either getting filled or getting out or whatever at 30, and then again at 30. But you can see here how those work really well with the retests. So anyway, so I missed that, and I wanted to get in, so I saw it make a little consolidation, comes up, then comes back into it. So I almost got short there, but I told myself, you know what? Let's just wait. Let's wait for a better entry. And man, I was happy I waited, because sure enough, comes back into the range, gets back out, comes all the way back up to that area. And I told myself, you know what? This doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it generally is up in this area, I'm good to go and try it. And you can see here on the 1 minute, makes a really nice kind of tweezers here. Get in on the new 1 minute low. I think probably my stop was somewhere up here. Is a little bit wide. And then it really, you can just tell it was just struggling. This was the move right there. I wasn't sure if we were going to get one more pop, but you got these big wicks, compression, and then boom, it gets back in this range. So that's confirmation to me. So I add in, I partial sum at the low of day, and then it didn't take too much longer. I wasn't sure how long this was going to take to keep going to $30, but it breaks through here, and I got in pretty heavy here, and that's probably why I partialed so much. I actually added in twice, which was a mistake. I added in, it didn't show a triangle, so I was like, what the fuck? So I added in again. They ended up both showing up. So I think there's two ads here. So I was in super heavy, and my average was just up here. So I was like pretty worried if we got a little squeeze, I would lose a few R's just on that squeeze. But it did move pretty quickly, which made me feel better. I partialed quite a bit in here, and I was okay with, because I was heavy, and so I wanted to lower my risk. I was a bit nervous. But what I really liked, but I also messed up on, was it came right back, retested this 30 area. I added in pretty decently heavy again, and I don't know what it was. I just felt like it wasn't going to continue down, so I got out of a lot of it. And of course, right after that, it kept going, and I partialed some more there. And then I guess I didn't partial any down here, probably because I was, I was thinking the big move to 1 ATR was going to happen. So I kind of combined 29 with the daily level with a 1 ATR. So this was sort of my big kind of finale of the move that might eventually happen. But $30 was really pulling it in, and then so was 30. In terms of what this was called, this was definitely like a low of day breakdown or an intraday breakdown. It wasn't necessarily an amazing daily level, higher time frame daily level, but we're just, we're in a weak stock. The market ended up being weak today as opposed to yesterday, and then we're sort of near the top of yesterday's high. So I saw this as, well, we're just sort of staying inside this daily yesterday, so we're gonna maybe move within this day, and it gave me a really good 1 minute entry. All of these make sense to us, I feel like, for a short, whether you get in up here, if you had your reasons to get in up here, seeing this, you'd have been confirmed like, oh yeah, this is a great move. We would have known how to trade this up and down all day long, or down all day. So that's pretty much all I got. I don't really know what else to go over. There's lots of stuff to look at. It is pretty crazy how everything just sold off. You know, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thanks.